Okay. While I was in Thailand, they've made a 10th edition of the songbook over there, which is also not free of mistakes. But there's some nice songs in there which we don't have in the other books yet.
Sridhar Maharaj's songs.
Some of Sridhar Maharaj's songs, and some of Bhakti Thakur's songs that aren't in this book or the other book. But there's one song I thought would be nice to sing if I can find it. But although it's not in these songbooks, it's really simple to follow. If I could just remember the first line. Jai Shri Shri Guru Radha, Jai Radha Kajit Hari Ju Ki Jai, on the day. Can't find it. Yeah, here we go, I got it. Right. Some of you might even know this song already. But It's by Bhakti Thakur. And it's a lovely song, but very simple song. It's called Mayuro Mukuta. So I think that everyone will be able to follow this, because most everybody knows the words, but they may not know the combination of the words, if you understand. So we can all follow it. I think. So it starts Mayuro Mukuta Pitambaradari, means he wears the peacock feather in his mukut. Pitambaradari, he's the holder of the flute and the lifter of Govardhan Hill. And, okay. Chandra Prabhu, you'll play mridanga, and someone can play kartals. So it goes like this. Try and follow if you can. Mayura Mukuta Pitambaradari, Mayura Mukuta Pitambaradari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari, Mayura Mukuta Pitambaradari, Mayura Mukuta Pitambaradari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari, Sri Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Sri Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari, Sri Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Kunja Bihari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari. Yashodananda Krishna Murari, Yashodanandana Krishna Murari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari, Gopi Jana Ballabha Bhakti Bihari, Gopi Jana Ballabha Bhakti Bihari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari, Mayura Mukuta Pitambaradari, Mayura Mukuta Pitambaradari, Mayura Mukuta Pitambaradari, Muralidhara Govardhanadari, Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Sri Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Murali Dara Govardhana Dari Murali Dara Govardhana Dari Yashoda Nandana Krishna Murari Yashoda Nandana Krishna Murari Murali Dara Govardhana Dari Murali Dara Govardhana Dari Gopi Jana Ballabha Bansi Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Bansi Bihari Murali Dara Govardhana Dari Murali Dara Govardhana Dari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bhargya Ki Jai. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Saraswata Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Samadvaita Vaishnava Mandali Ki Jai. Kol Kartel Ki Jai. Shri Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. So very nice mridanga, huh?
Yes, from Mayapur.
Is it clay?
Yes.
Beautiful mridanga. Yeah. So.
Jai Sriman Devashis Prabhu ki.
Jai Gurudev. Oh, Anjali's here.
It's from Mayapur, Mridangams. Yes. On the internet.
Jai Anjali did he? Yeah, so happy to see you.
Yes, lovely to see you.
Do you need a chair?
No, I need a wall. I'll sit at the,
Yes.
just sit at my back or something.
Yes.
And then I got the heating on. I was struck.
I mean, for India.
Wow.
Here.
I haven't put it on.
They guarantee it.
Do you?
I think that's
Didn't they?
I can't remember his name. He's a really
Who did you come with? With the
I
Jagannath?
came with Jagannath
maybe, yeah.
and
Sandra. Oh, okay. Okay.
And we had to make a detour to get the visa picture.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't find one anywhere.
Yes,
I looked in all
YouTube
my
videos,
books.
just doing practice.
I
Okay.
couldn't find it. I don't know where I put them. So
All right. Jolly
we
good.
had to make a detour. We were a bit late and the traffic was
No, you were just in time.
not brilliant.
Just in time.
Did you specify the sign or anything like this?
Hare Krishna. So, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Madhya Leela, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that the development of consciousness in the process of devotional service. Beginning with, the verse says, Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. So, beginning with Shraddha. And Shraddha is born through Sukriti. Sukriti means spiritual merit. And Sukriti is different to Punya. Punya means piety. But piety doesn't approach devotion. Piety is of this world. Jagannath Prabhu. And that is more or less, you can say, relative. Piety or punya is a relative thing in this world, because good for someone must mean bad for somebody else in this world, because it's relative. So, in the concept of piety, the best you can ask for is the greatest good for the greatest number. But that presupposes that some minority must suffer as a result of that. For the good of the many, there's some sacrifice of the few. Is the very nature of this material world. You'll never find any perfect equation in this material world, because the material world is a plane of fault. Then the greatest good for the greatest number is the best you can hope for. It was the German philosopher Immanuel Kant who said, there's nothing good in this world except for good intention. But we all know that the road to hell is paved with good intention. That's a well-known, saying. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he says, even good intention, we don't believe that there is such a thing, like a purely good intention in this world. It must be tinged with something crooked. Even just a little bit, but something. You won't find anything purely good in this material world. So this is papa and punya. Papa means sin, punya means piety. But neither of those are a qualification or a bar for real spiritual life. And spiritual life begins with sukriti. First unknown and then known. That is agyata sukriti. Agyata sukriti means that unknowingly we did something in favor of Krishna. That could be anything. That you see the Sankirtan party going down the road and you stop your car to let them cross the road. That's agyata sukriti. You get some benefit from that. Or a devotee on his way to the temple passes your garden, sees some nice roses growing in your garden, he pinches one and brings it to the temple to offer to Mahaprabhu. Then you, because you grew those roses, you get sukriti. It's agyata sukriti. You might not even be aware that rose is even gone. But because you made that rose, or you grew that rose, then you get some sukriti. It's like, you can say, like a deposit in your spiritual bank account. Unknown to you even. And when that, like in a bank account, every now and again they pay some dividend of the interest accrued there. So the interest on agyata sukriti, when that's paid into your account, then that becomes gyata sukriti. Gyata sukriti means knowing spiritual merit, which means now you thought, I have some nice roses in my garden, let me take a few to the temple and offer them to Krishna. That's gyata sukriti. You make some endeavor. You come all the way from Bournemouth with a bag full of nice fruits and you put them there in front of Krishna. Gyata sukriti. That also is paid into your spiritual bank account. And when that pays out its dividend, then that becomes shraddha. Shraddha means faith. Faith is kind of an intrinsic thing in all human beings. Whether we like to admit it or not, almost everything we do is an act of faith. Just, you get up in the morning and you eat your bowl of cornflakes. That's based on an act of faith that those cornflakes are going to give you some nourishment and not poison you. And then you walk down the street based on some intrinsic faith that the ground is going to support you as you go. It's not going to open up and swallow you. So more or less everything we do is faith-based because we don't know. You might walk out and today, when you put your foot on the pavement may open up and swallow you. You don't know. But your intrinsic faith tells you, no, it's going to be as it was yesterday and so on. But shraddha is something more than just ordinary faith. It means faith in something sublime. So when we come and we make some offering before Lord Krishna, and we feel, intrinsically, we feel some benefit in our life from that. Some lifting of our consciousness. Consciousness is always, in this material world, is always going downwards. Just like gravity is always anchoring us to the earth, so consciousness is always going downwards. By its natural trait, it'll go to the down position. It means we'll be attracted to the things of this world by our natural inclination, if you like. And so to elevate our consciousness means we have to make some endeavor. Just like, if you want to raise yourself up, you have to climb. You have to make some endeavor to do that. Otherwise, just by the force of gravity, you'll always remain on the ground. So some endeavor is necessary for us to elevate our consciousness, because our consciousness is always going downwards. So we want to raise our consciousness upwards. Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, always looking downwards to find things and people to serve you. Things that you can exploit to make your life more comfortable, and people that you can exploit to make your life more comfortable and convenient. And that's not like everyone does that. There are whole, government departments that are just endeavoring to do that. Most people think that, that's the goal of life, is to make life more convenient for us. And so, they're developing all kinds of scientific wonders just for that. That you don't need to do anything anymore. You don't even need to get out of your bed in the morning. You can just pick up your internet device, and whatever you want to do, you can just do it on that. Order your food, order your, whatever it is. Your favorite TV show, your film, your whatever. Don't need to go anywhere anymore. And most people thinking this is advancement. This is an advanced society where all these things are available to us at the touch of our finger. And this is what we're being taught from our childhood, that the goal of life is to gain wealth and independence. If we're wealthy and we're independent, then we can enjoy life, we can be happy in life. But it's not actually true. It's actually a deception. And it may be very well intentioned, but it's not true. Like people say, if you just work hard, you'll get everything you desire in life. But that's not true, is it? We see people their whole life work hard and get nothing at the end of it. And some people who hardly do anything seem to get everything on a plate offered to them. So it's nothing to do with how hard you work. It's all about what's going to come to you according to your karma. Srila Gurudev would say, we are all receiving our karma phal. It means the fruit of our karma. What we've done, we'll get the result of that. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, there's nothing you can do to prevent your karma happening to you. It's coming. And there's nothing you can do to make that happen either. It's coming. So don't waste your time endeavoring for that. We see that so many times. People thinking, if I move away, I go here and I start a new life, everything will be happy now. But the problem is, wherever you go, there you are. Isn't it? Wherever you are, it's still you. You've still got the same mental makeup within you, the same karmic blueprint going on within you. You don't change that just by changing your location or by changing your circumstance. What's coming to you is coming to you. Maybe you can change the way that you experience that, good or bad, but it's still coming to you. So, this is what everybody's thinking they should be doing with their life, is making some arrangement to make their life happy, convenient, and fulfilling. Of course, that's only natural because everybody requires some fulfillment in life. But when we develop Shraddha in something higher, have some faith in something higher, then our life begins to take a different direction. From Shraddha, as Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains, from Shraddha, then comes Sadhu Sangha. When you have faith in Krishna consciousness, naturally you want to associate with others who are of the same faith, who are on the same path, who are endeavoring in the same way that you are. This is called Sadhu Sangha. And everybody's doing that, right? Whatever they're interested in, they're looking to find other people with the same interests, whether it's, model trains or whatever it might be. And people looking, where's the latest model train club near to me where I can go? We can talk about the new engines that are, or whatever it is. It can be anything. But, as the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. So that's true also in devotional life. We want to seek out those who are also endeavoring on the same path as ourselves. And amongst that association, we're looking to find those who are more advanced than ourselves. Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, if in the world we think that there's nobody who can actually help us, nobody that actually has a higher position than us in spiritual life, then we're in a very poor situation. We want that. We don't want to establish ourselves as being the best or the greatest. We want to find out who actually are those people and try to associate with them. And that's a natural thing. Again, in any field, if you want to become, like a wealthy businessman, the best thing to do is associate with wealthy businessmen. And you'll, get some tips, you'll get some connections, they'll help you in that way, possibly, hopefully. Because generally, rich people don't get rich by sharing their ideas with others. But anyhow, the principle is that, right? Something you might be able to gain from their association. So similarly in spiritual life, everyone has some spiritual wealth within them. We want to share that. We want to tap into that. What you have, I want to avail myself to that. What I have, I can also share that with you. And those who are on a higher level of spiritual development, we want their association so we may benefit ourselves spiritually. It's a kind of spiritual symbiosis. And that necessitates service, a service relationship. So, really Sadhu Sangha doesn't just mean rubbing shoulders or sitting in the same room together. It means to have a serviceful connection with those higher devotees. From Sadhu Sangha then comes Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya means to follow the path. And that necessarily that means under the guidance of a proper Vaishnava. We're all telling, Srila Govinda Maharaj would say, everyone telling devotee, devotee, devotee. But how much is somebody a devotee? We can't know that. 5% devotee, 20% devotee, or 100% devotee, it's difficult to tell. But those who are substantial devotees, who are giving themselves 100%, we want their association, and necessarily that means through service. In his last days, our Guru Maharaj, he was entirely absorbed internally in Krishna consciousness. And sometimes in his room, he's just walking naked. He has no consciousness of his external surroundings or anything. And he would say, he had two devotees that would look after him in his rooms there, and he would say to them, just make sure if Govinda Maharaj comes that I have some clothes on. And that was like their duty. And some nights, we heard from them that in the night, his Guru Maharaj is feeling much separation from the Lord, and showing some suffering, disposition. And so his devotees, those two devotees, they bring him his japamala, and they would say, Maharaj, take your japamala, you'll get some relief. Because, previously we saw, if Guru Maharaj isn't like speaking with the devotees, his hand's in his bead bag, he's just chanting like all the time. If you see Guru Maharaj's Tulsi Mala, it's black, like ebony black, from the oil from his fingers, you won't see that. So this was Guru Maharaj previously, but now they're giving the japa. If you take the mala, you'll get some relief. We can see you're suffering. Take your mala, you'll get some relief. And Maharaj would say, no. Give the mala to Govinda Maharaj. My only shelter now is the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu. This is my only hope. And Srila Govinda Maharaj remarked about that. I don't know why he's saying give the mala to Govinda Maharaj. He said, I'm thinking he's the chanter of the holy name, not me. He's the one whose chanting is actually real Harinam. And why is he saying give the mala to Govinda Maharaj? He said, he's the chanter, and my thinking is, I am his servant. I am to serve him. So this is why I'm telling that, is just this idea that the higher Vaishnavas, we want to serve them. We're not thinking that we can serve Krishna or we can worship Krishna. But they are actual servants of Krishna, actual chanters of the holy name of Krishna. And if we can assist them in some way, if we can serve them in some way, we'll get some benefit from that. It's not like, our guru gives us the beads and then it's like off we go and, that's it now. Now I got it. Then what is ours? Srila Maharaj said, your japa is feeble. When you're chanting and you're trying to think, like, where is my mind while I'm chanting? Is it on the holy name? He said, you will find that you are marketing elsewhere. That was Guru Maharaj's expression. You will find yourself marketing elsewhere. It means you're thinking about everything else except the holy name of Krishna. What will we have for dinner tonight? Like we all know, so many things going through our mind. But there are those who actually substantially can chant Krishna's holy name. And yes, we're given some chance to also do that. But better for us is to try to serve those who actually are engaged in the chanting of Krishna's name, proper in the service of Krishna's name, proper in the worship of Krishna, proper. If we can assist them, then we get some real chance of advancing in spiritual life. And this is bhajana kriya, under the direction of a Vaishnava, a substantial Vaishnava, a real Vaishnava. And bhajana kriya, then anartha nibriti. So this anartha nibriti means ridding the heart of everything that's not Krishna, anartha. So that means to get rid of all of our, not just our bad qualities, but everything within us that isn't directly related with Krishna and Krishna's service and the service of Krishna's devotees. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, this is the actual sadhana of the devotee, anartha nibriti. And the next stage after anartha nibriti is ashakti. And that means fixed in your faith, ashakti. No deviation. Like now we're coming and going. It's called Ganatarala. Just like our faith is yes, one day, yeah, I'm really into the Krishna, and next day, I'm not so interested today, and not even sure that Krishna is real sometimes. This is called Gana Tarala, means like flickering faith. But after Anartha Nibriti comes Ashakti, then Ruchi. Ruchi means, you get some real taste for your chanting of the holy name of Krishna. But Guru Maharaj says the gap between the beginning of Anartha Nibriti and up to that point of Ruchi is huge, is monumental, and that's the main sadhana of an aspiring devotee, is that Anartha Nibriti. To rid ourselves of all the unwanted things that possess us. So, we know that there are 4 principles that we should follow to lead a clean life, spiritual life. Generally, we saw, that we see Srila Prabhupada, you would have to tell what are those 4 regulative principles when at the time of initiation. Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj, they didn't ask that. Because it was assumed you already knew that. Before you even come to the stage of initiation, that's assumed. Doesn't mean, because he didn't ask me, I don't have to follow that. Srila Govinda Maharaj said, if anyone thinks that they don't have to follow the 4 regulative principles, then I say they're completely in illusion. This is, integral to our practice. But in itself, it's not a principle of spiritual life. It's just to make ourselves in a clean position before spiritual life even begins. The real thing is that we have some sincere aspiration for the service of Krishna and Krishna's holy name. Srila Govinda Maharaj, he would often say after giving Harinam, now it is my expectation that from today, that every day you will serve Lord Krishna. From today onwards, your life will be to serve Lord Krishna. This is my expectation. This is what it means on initiation. The beginning, it's not the end in itself. I got my name and I got my beads and I'm a card-carrying member of the club now. I often say that it's like getting your letter from Oxford University that you've been accepted to study in this school. Many young people, when they leave school, they apply to a university, and a few to Oxford or Cambridge. My daughter, she said, when the representatives came to her school, from Oxford and Cambridge, they're only interested in people who are 100% committed. If you're not on board 100%, don't even bother applying to this university, So, and they're very selective who they get, right? But let's say you were selected. They thought you had the necessity, so to be able to enter into that university. Still, perhaps one of the most prestigious universities in the world, Oxford University. So you get your letter. We're happy to say you've been accepted into to study at this university, etc. And when you get that, obviously you're going to be thrilled. Maybe so much so that you take that letter and you put it in a frame and put it on your wall. When your friends come around, look, it's accepted into Oxford University to study. And then they say, hey, and how did it go? What did you study? What did you get? What degree did you get? And oh no, I didn't go. That's enough, isn't it? I just got the letter of acceptance. That's enough. But it isn't enough, is it? If you take that to your employer, say, look, I was accepted into Oxford, they're not going to give you, what kind of degree did you get? Oh, no, I didn't go. I thought that was enough. So similarly, I got my beads, I got my name, I got everything. Then what? Oh, I didn't bother after that, They're just on my shelf. in my room gathering dust, those beads. I didn't actually go anymore. Didn't do anymore. I thought that was enough. Srila Guru Maharaj told Hari Charan Prabhu, who was one of Guru Maharaj's senior brahmacharis, said, "You have been accepted to study in the same school as Shukadev Goswami." Hari Charan Prabhu, he thought, I should return and finish my studies and get my master's degree. And he told Govinda Maharaj, "I'm going to go back to school, get my master's degree. Then when I'm preaching, it can say Hari Charan MA or whatever, that people will take me seriously then, And Govinda Maharaj said, "And did you discuss this with Guru Maharaj?" He said, no, I haven't discussed with Guru Maharaj. Let's go and see what Guru Maharaj has to say about that. So they went, Hari Charan Prabhu told Guru Maharaj this was his idea. And Guru Maharaj looked at him with a kind of befuddled look, and he says, "Where do you think you are? Where do you think you are? Where are you studying now? You're studying in the same school as Shukadev. You're studying in the same school as Lord Shiva, as Lord Brahma. This is the school that you've been enrolled in, and you want to go to some mundane university and get your MA degree, and you think that that's necessary?" Then Hari Charan Prabhu thought, yeah, okay, I abandon that idea, It's the same thing when Srila Govinda Maharaj, he said, we've published over 50 books in English of Guru Maharaj's talks, but I've never given them to anybody, any literary society, or to review those books. And why? He said, because they don't have any qualification to say whether Guru Maharaj's book is good or bad. What do we care about what they have to say? So, like that. It is not some lesser thing that we are involved in here. And also, it's not something that requires any lesser commitment than going to university or whatever. Like maybe somebody's thinking that they should become a lawyer or a doctor, for their profession. And like how much self-sacrifice is required to do that? How many years of study, let's say to become a doctor, how many years of study, then how many years of clinical practice, and how many, like we all know about the junior doctors working 24-hour shifts, they can hardly stay awake, we all know about that, right? How much, but they think that sacrifice is worthwhile for their career, and maybe it is, but my point is, should we think that to practice Krishna consciousness, we don't need that same kind of self-discipline and self-sacrifice, if we really want the result of that? It is not something that we just something that we do, we fit it in when we can, and but our real focus is on our career or on our family or on whatever it might be. Those things will go on as they're meant to go on anyway. The real thing is to try to make Krishna our focus, to make our spiritual life our first priority. And how you get on in the world, that's your second priority, must be. Because you've got no choice. You're going on in this world anyway. There was when I used to, for a brief while, I worked for a company called Ove Arup, and Ove Arup was a very famous architect. Many of the big buildings in central London were designed by him, and he had. To work in that company, you had to know the ethos of the company. And his philosophy was, when you do something that you love as your work, it's not work. It's actually, your life. It's your life. And So, in other words, he's saying, do something that you want in your life that you love. That will be your fulfillment in life. But the opposite of that, Henry Ford, who made the Ford car, he said, no, what we do, our work and everything, is to facilitate all the other things that we want to do with our life. The things that actually matter in our life. That's what works for, to facilitate that. Not that in itself is a goal in itself to be fulfilled. And how many people can say that for their work, they do what they love and nothing else, Maybe if you're Paul McCartney or somebody, you can say that. But for most of us just have to do what we have to do to get by from week to week, isn't it, And it's very unusual if you, as a career, you do something which you entirely love. But the point is that whether you do something that you love as your job, or whether you just do something that necessitates that you have to do to be able to, navigate the world from day to day and week to week, neither of those things should be your goal in life. Your goal in life should be developing your higher self, awakening your higher self, your spiritual life. Because, life is going on anyway. Then, what will we do with that life? This is the question. We have this life. We have something in our hand right now. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, we do not know what is our future. We do not know what will happen to us tomorrow. But in our hand today, we have something. And what we have in our hand today, we should use that in Krishna's service. And let tomorrow take care of tomorrow. What we have now, let me use that in Krishna's service. Everything else is a distraction. Sometimes people think, devotees think, I'll become rich. I'll develop some business or something. I'll become rich. And when I'm rich, I can use my money to open temples, service of all these things. Lovely idea, lovely. But you find, suddenly after 40 years, with your endeavor to become rich, you still didn't become rich. And you still didn't utilize anything for the service of Krishna. You just spent all your time endeavoring to become rich. And for those who do become rich, when you become rich, how many people with their hand on their hearts will say that I'll utilize my wealth now only in Krishna's service? Wealth, like say money is the root of all evil. It's a fact. Actually, in Srimad Bhagavatam, there's the 4 regulative principles are mentioned there. Dyutam, Panam, Striyam, Shunam. Dyutam means gambling, or it also means cheating. Cheating others to make your way in the world is called dyutam. Deception, deceiving. How can we practice spiritual life if we don't practice truthfulness? So dyutam is forbidden for the devotees, to make your way by crooked means, by cheating others. Panam means intoxication. So intoxication doesn't just mean drinking wine or taking marijuana or something. Guru Maharaj says the enjoying spirit is panam. That we want to just utilize our time to enjoy ourselves. This is a kind of mania, and that falls under the category of panam. And generally those other things contribute to that, isn't it? Wine and beer and blow and, all the other things that go along with it. They help us to enjoy those things. People say, I had a great night. Can't remember anything. It was fantastic. This is like how they measure how enjoyable it was. So this is panam. And striya means the illicit relationships with men and women. Sexual relationships. Man with woman, woman with man, and now also man and woman, whatever, floats your boat, as they say. that's also forbidden because it's hugely diverting. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that, especially when you're young and you're chasing after a sexual partner, it takes up all of your time. And shuna means animal killing animals. This is called mangsa. Guru Maharaj says it's a type of cheating that you become strong by directly eating the flesh of another being. It gives you some strength, some energy, but it's a type of cheating, and because it's unlawful, and it's kind of vampiric also. To live off the blood of others. Horrible thing. So, and of course, it makes our consciousness dull, brutish, that kind of mentality. So these four things, Jutam, Panam, Striyam, Shunam. But the next line in Bhagavatam says, Jata Rupam. Jata Rupam. Srila Govinda Maharaj said, this is the fifth regulative principle. It means, literally means hoarding gold. Because through hoarding money, all of those other things become easily available to us. So devotees shouldn't hoard money. They shouldn't keep more money than they need to live, basically. Back in some of you may remember, but back in the 1960s, 70s, there was I think it was in it was an American newspaper, maybe the New York Times or something. Anyway, there on the front page, there was a photograph of Swami Satchidananda, and someone's offering him like a suitcase full of cash, and in the photograph he's like, no, like shunning it, Get thee behind me, Satan, like something like that. And when Srila Prabhupada saw that photograph, he said, you can make another one with me, and they're offering me the suitcase of money, and I'm saying, yes, give it. This is because if someone gives me $1 million in the morning, by the evening I will have spent it for Krishna's service. So everything has its utility in Krishna's service, but when we think that it's ours, that's where we fall. We fall down thinking that it's ours. And that means also when you have wealth, you're thinking, I can throw some money to the temple, help the devotees. I can help Krishna, I can assist Krishna. One of our god brothers, beautiful devotee, he's passed away now a few years ago, Judamanyu Prabhu Seva Vikram. And he was, at one time, used to head our fundraising in America. He had parties of devotees that worked under him. And so one day he came to Guru Maharaj and he gave a big donation, so many thousands of dollars he gave to Guru Maharaj, and Guru Maharaj accepted that. But Guru Maharaj could see, and maybe not physically see, because Guru Maharaj was almost blind in his last days, but he could understand that our Judamanyu Prabhu was feeling some pride that he'd given so much to Guru Maharaj, like a huge amount of money. And Guru Maharaj said, in the time of Rupa and Sanatan, in Vrindavan, we know that they lived under a different tree every night, it's told like that, but they also had their deity. So they're worshipping their deities in a tree. They put them in a tree and they're doing the puja, they're doing everything. He said one king came there, and they're famous, Rupa Sanatan, very famous sadhus of Vrindavan. Then everyone knows them, the king knows who they are, and he sees they're doing their worship under a tree, and he's thinking, I'm a king, I have so much wealth, I can build some temple for them to keep their deity in, like this, and feeling some this way I can help the sadhus, this way some kind of ego of proprietorship, you can say. And he said then, while he was thinking in this way, it began raining. And it's raining on Rupa and Sanatan. And then he said, then that king, he could perceive, oh, it's not raining water. It's raining precious gems, diamonds, rubies, emeralds there. That's what's raining down on Rupa and Sanatan. And then that king could understand, oh, I am thinking that I can help benefit these sadhus with my wealth. But their Lord is Lakshmipati, the Lord of all wealth. And, what a foolish man I am to think like that. In the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they had their temple in Mayapur, the Chaitanya Mott in Mayapur. And Saraswati Thakur, he wants to make a headquarters in Calcutta. So he told all the devotees, remember this is in the 1930s, so he told his disciples, we need to raise 1 lakh of rupees, we can build the temple in Calcutta. They had a place in Altadanga Road, but rented house there. Deity was there, everything was there, and he wants to make a permanent place. And that became the Bhag Bazaar Gaudiya Mott. If you've ever been there, it's a very big temple, very beautiful temple. And at that time he wants to raise 1 lakh of rupees. I mean, 1 lakh of rupees wouldn't pay the rent for a few months anywhere in Calcutta nowadays. But then it was when the rupee was actually worth something. And he said, what I want you to do, he told his disciples, I want you to go door to door in Calcutta. Remember, Calcutta is like maybe as big as London. Maybe bigger, I don't know. But there's millions of people live there. And mainly they're Hindus. Then he said, you all go door to door, knock on everybody's house, and collect 2 rupees from each family. And very soon we'll have enough to build the temple. So anyway, this became common knowledge with all of his disciples, that Prabhupada wants to raise 1 lakh of rupees. He had one disciple who was very wealthy. I had actually a few very wealthy disciples, but one particular disciple, his name was Jagadbandhu Bhakti Ranjan. And he was like a millionaire. And when he heard Prabhupada wants a 1 lakh of rupees to build the temple, he came and offered him 3 lakhs rupees. And then they built the temple. Maybe they had more than maybe it was bigger than they'd anticipated because of that 3 lakhs instead of 1 lakh. But anyway, now our Jagadbandhu Prabhu, he's the hero of the day. Everyone's so happy. And they remarked, someone remarked to Srila Saraswati Thakur, oh, you must be so happy. You wanted 1 lakh and now you have 3 lakhs. You must be so happy. And Saraswati Thakur said, oh no, you don't understand me at all, do you? He said, what I wanted was that every family in Calcutta will contribute to this temple and get the sukriti for that. Now one man's came and taken all of that sukriti for himself. Said, so yes, I'm happy. We have the money to do what we need to do, but what I really wanted was all of the people of Calcutta will get the benefit for that. But anyhow, but of course he became the hero of the day, Jagadbandhu Prabhu. They're carrying him on their shoulders, like you fulfilled Prabhupada's wishes and so on. And he was like completely embarrassed. And he wrote an article in the Gaudiya magazine, which was published in the Gaudiya magazine, and basically he said, why is everybody giving so much praise to me? This is actually demeaning to me. It's embarrassing to me, because all I did was gave my spiritual master which belonged to him anyway. My mistake was thinking that it was my money, but it's not my money. It was only meant for Krishna's service, and now I've given that for Krishna's service. And everyone's saying it's such a great thing to do, but I just gave what belonged to him anyway. So why is everybody making such a big deal about it? So anyhow, Sukriti. The devotees, they are called Sukritivan. They hold that Sukriti and they can extend that to everyone. Yes. So, our business is to try to, first of all, recognize the many faults that exist within us and then try to eliminate that. Anartha nibriti. And to properly facilitate that requires that we properly chant the holy name of Krishna. And to properly chant the holy name of Krishna, we are required to follow Mahaprabhu's directive. Trinadapi sunichyana taroriva suhishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya shadahari. Who is qualified to always chant the holy name of Krishna? Really chant the holy name of Krishna? They must possess these qualities. They must be humble. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, what kind of humble? Humble like the grass. And tolerant. And what kind of tolerant? Tolerant like a tree. And able to give honor to everyone. We say respect, but not more than respect, to honor everyone. And at the same time, not to forget this part, not to expect any honor or prestige for ourselves. Srila Sridhar Maharaj said this is the trade secret of success in spiritual life. It is not mundane. Mahaprabhu has given this instruction. We are to practice humility. When we say practice, it's because it doesn't come naturally to us. Naturally, we are separated from Krishna by, in Srila Govinda Maharaj's words, a Himalayan range of ego. The Himalayas separate us from seeing Krishna, and that Himalaya is our ego. The ego means identity, but our identity is now misconceived. We are thinking that we're something else than we actually are. Not just that we're thinking we're the body or we're thinking we're the mind, but we're thinking that we're significantly important. And we aren't. So first we have to dissolve that ego, or rather replace that ego with a real ego. And what is that real ego? Mahaprabhu has told us that too. Naham bipro narapatir napi vaisho nashudro naham varnina tachagriha navanastir jatirva kintu prajan nikila paramananda punambritabde gopi bharta padakamalayo das anudas. Thank you. So what does Mahaprabhu say? I'm not a Brahmin, a priest, or teacher. I'm not a Kshatriya, meaning I'm not a warrior or administrator. I'm not a Vaishya, a businessman or a farmer. I'm not a Shudra or a laborer. I'm not any of those things. I'm not a Brahmachari. I'm not a Grihastha, means a married person. I'm not a Vanaprastha, retired, or a sannyasi, a monk. I'm not any of those things. Then what am I? Simply the servant of the servant of the servant of a Vaishnava's servant, the servant of that ever-expanding ocean of nectar, the master of the gopis, Lord Sri Krishna. That's my ego. And Mahaprabhu is teaching us that is the ego that we should aspire for. Not to identify ourselves with anything in this world, but only that we are the servant of the servant of the servant of that master of the gopis, that ever-expanding ocean of bliss, Lord Krishna. And it's not hyperbole or like a poetic expression to say das anudas, servant of the servant of the servant, but it is the substantial reality. We are to consider that servant of the servant of the servant. If we can even get that, that is more than our limited capacity should allow us. We should consider it to be great. A great thing. And when we come in connection, substantial connection with the infinite, there is no other response except to consider oneself to be humble. It's a natural reaction to a substantial connection with the infinite. You will feel yourself to be small, to be tiny, to be insignificant. You cannot then stand and try to assert yourself in front of that infinite. Just like in India, sometimes you see, after the monsoon, when the rain stops at night time, the fireflies come out. And then if you're in the country especially, and they're flashing, they have some like luminescence in the back of their little insect body, fly body, and flash of light. And when there's many of them, it's a very beautiful thing to see. Very beautiful. Flashing, the fireflies. But in the daytime, they're also there, flashing away, but you won't be able to see them, because in the face of the sun, that little light that they have is nothing, insignificant. So we're like that, we all have some little light within us. But when we try to stand in front of the infinite, it's negligible, it's nothing at all. So why we can't be humble? Because of this ego. So we are meant to adjust our ego. And Srila Govinda Maharaj, he used to say, my religion is finding fault with myself. And not to look at the fault of others, because there's no end to that. This world, you will not find any perfect person. Everyone has some fault, one way or another. And why we should concentrate on that? As Lord Jesus says, why are you criticizing your brother for having a speck in his eye when you have a plank in your own? So, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, when there's a beautiful flower garden, and instead of giving your attention to the beauty of that flower garden, you're looking to the garbage heap over there. Why? And rooting through that. Why? What kind of madness is that? So the reality is beautiful. Often people say, wake up to the harsh reality of life and so on. But that's an entirely mundane idea. Reality is not harsh. Reality is beautiful. Krishna is the reality. And Krishna is beautiful. So Guru Maharaj said, search for Sri Krishna, reality, the beautiful. Give your attention to that, to beauty, to love, to harmony, to sympathy. Give your attention there, not to look at the dirt on the other side. So that demands of us that we practice humility, tolerance, and honoring others. We don't like to honor others. Rather, that we find that diminishes our own position. Don't you know who I am? Don't you know who my father is? Don't you know what my qualifications are? Why they're giving so much attention to that person? I know. No, we don't like that. That is the thing. If you cut off everyone else's head, you'll stand taller. But actually, it's not the fact. If you give honor to others, then they become honorable. Srila Guru Maharaj said, in the time of Saraswati Thakur, when some devotees, because not everybody gets on with everybody, right? It's just there's some clash of personalities. So some devotees, they don't get on with each other necessarily. So Saraswati Thakur would see, these two are antagonistic to each other. Then they would make some meeting, Ishtagoshti meeting, and he would say something in glorification of your friend, of your brother. And he said, oh. And they would have to dive deep into the bright side of that person to find that goodness in them. Not something superficial, oh yeah, he's a great guy. No, look and find something real within that person. Because everybody has some goodness within them. Everybody has some good quality within them. And if you can mine that out, find that within them and give glorification, honor to that, you also will become honorable by doing that. Rather than finding the fault, Guru Maharaj said we should not be drain inspectors. Because if your head is always down the drain, you know what it's going to become covered in. That's it says in the scripture, right? That when you see the faults in others, be sure those faults will come to you. By seeing that. So we should try to overlook that in others and see, mark the goodness within them, mark the bright side of that person. Then they will be benefited, we also will be benefited. So these are all principles that Mahaprabhu has taught us for practicing spiritual life. Give honor to others. Tolerate what comes to you. Today we saw that on the way here, coming here. There was a diversion and everyone's getting in the queue to go down the road. And then inevitably, you all know that somebody doesn't want to go in the queue, so they skip the queue, come around, and then they try and force their way in to the traffic. So that happened in front of us. This car's coming in, and the man whose car he's trying to push in front of, shouting it. Then the guy gets out of his car, yeah, and then almost there was a big punch up there, Everything like, what for what? So that you can be one car length quicker than the other guy? Just let him in, get on with your day. Okay, maybe he did the wrong thing. Maybe he did some, so what? Is it that important? Is our life so meaningless that we have to spend our time and energy looking at what everybody else did wrong? Let it be and get on with your day. Have a nice, come on in, sir, have a nice day. But they couldn't do that. There was a big fight. But, that means no tolerance. We have to be a little tolerant. Not necessary always to fight with everybody. We know it's Kali Yuga. That's one of the symptoms of this age, fighting, quarrel. But we don't need to be part of that. Try to give our attention to something else. So be humble, be tolerant, give honor to everyone, and don't expect to be honored yourself. That we mustn't forget. We are all thinking we are so important, that we are so, we should be recognized for something, but that is only another part of our false identification, our false ego. Leave it and try to identify yourself with the servant of God. Then your life will be blessed, and you'll get a real qualification to chant Krishna's holy name. And Krishna's holy name is the same as Krishna himself, non-different from Krishna. In this world, if you are going through the deserts and parched for a glass of water, just by saying water, water, won't bring water, won't quench your thirst. That's the nature of this material world, duality. The thing and the named thing is not the same. They're different things, the name and the thing itself. But in the spiritual world, that's called Advai Gyan Tattva, one indivisible truth. Then what is the name and the name, they're the same. So when we tell Krishna, that is Krishna, if our call is pure. And no different. We can commune directly with Krishna through his holy name. And Rupa Goswami, he goes as far as to say that Krishna and his name, they are not different. But if there is any difference, it is that Krishna's name is even more merciful than Krishna. Because in our attempt to worship Krishna, to serve Krishna, we may make so many mistakes and offenses. But simply by chanting more Krishna's name, those offenses also will be cleaned away. How merciful is Krishna's name? How merciful is Lord Krishna? The very thing that we commit offense to gives us relief, gives us support. Like when a child is learning to walk, again falls down on the floor. But what does he use to rise up again? The ground. The ground that he fell on, the ground will give him support to try again. So in the same way, we may make so many mistakes and offenses to Lord Krishna, but that same Lord Krishna will lift us up so we can try again. And virtue is its own reward. The fact that you are trying, that's enough. Jai Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. So I think now it's time for Aarti. We can stop now. Thank you today. Hare Krishna. And
It's Aarti time. You stay for Aarti?
Is Aarti there?
Yes.
Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
That day will come.